Hey guys, just D'Lo here doing the editing. So you're probably going to be wondering why the intro and the outro sound so drowned out. We recently got some wireless Laval mics, specifically the Hollyland Lark Mark IIs. I've never actually used something like that. I've used to use the wired ones. So, in this case, we had no idea what the heck we were doing. Hopefully, we'll have it figured out next time. I'm just giving people forewarning. Anyway, enjoy this episode of the podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Month Podcast. Your host today, Tyler Lazat, with Brendan Paul. And Brendan, how are you doing today?
I'm well. Hockey season right around the corner. You got the Caribou Cougars getting their headshots, preseason action. Prince George Blues Kings also in action this weekend. Prince George Cougars up in Gwinnett. So season, just a little over a week away in a lot of circles here. I'm just as excited as you are.
That's right. You can feel the energy here at the rink as, like Brendan said, we got the headshots happening for the Caribou Cougar program. As you can see behind us, the logo is in, the ice is cold, ready for some Caribou Cougar action, as well as other Prince George minor hockey programs, user groups coming into this beautiful arena. Brendan, so we're talking about the Caribou Cougars right now. Caribou Cougars goaltender Jackson Dicker, he's having a really good preseason right now with Seattle. Let's touch on that a bit.
Jackson, they might have to lean on him early on in the season. Scott Ratzlaff likely invited to the Buffalo Sabres camp yet again. So Dicker, along with all their other bodies in camp, likely going to start the season with the Thunderbirds. Seattle traded Spencer Micknick to the Victoria Royals in the summer. So Dicker a chance to show a glimpse into the future amongst the Thunderbirds brass to start the year. We'll see how much of a shape he gets as long as Ratzlaff is in camp with the Buffalo Sabres. So a good open audition for the 16-year-old out of Williamsburg to show what he can do.
Very well said, and rating 6'5". As a 16-year-old, he's got size, and he has looked really, really good so far for Seattle. I think Seattle definitely has a gem here with Jackson Dicker from Williams Lake. And so the Spruce Kings have their two home preseason games coming up this weekend. They didn't have the luck they were hoping for on the road for their preseason games. What do you expect from them here this weekend?
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure internally amongst the organization. You kind of said it the last couple of seasons, not up to par by their standards based on where they have been in the BCHL over the past few years. Taking on the Langley Rivermen, a familiar opponent, a team that they're going to be familiarized with based on the realignment of divisions. Prince George, of course, with all the Alberta teams in full-time this year. In the old mainland division with the likes of Surrey, Chilliwack, Portland, just to name a few. So a nice audition here for the Spruce Kings to kick off before we conclude the end of the preseason and the regular season around the corner. Of course, you got Ryder Green, Mason Mullen, Lyndon Hackle, all former Caribou Cougar graduates on the Spruce Kings roster this year. So very excited to see how all three of them will in a Spruce Kings jersey this year.
Absolutely, and I think it's really cool to see Ryder Green, Mason Mullen be able to stay here in the north. Obviously, Ryder Green from Prince George, Mason Mullen being from Charlie Lake. For them to be able to stay close to home, continue to play here in Prince George at that next level is super exciting. And a lot of Caribou Cougars fans that got to watch them over the last few years with the Caribou Cougars program now go down to the Cole Park Memorial Arena and see them in some PCHL action.
Let's not forget about Matt Howard stuck the road in Vancouver, less than an hour away. Teams like the Cougars go to Vancouver every now and again to expand their fan base. So let's not forget about those rural communities a little bit closer to us as well. But here's hoping the Spruce Kings turn it around this season in the BCHL.
Very well said. And so our guest today is Hailey Armstrong from Dawson Creek, who's an alumni of the Royal Capitals program. Maybe you can give a bit of a profile interview here.
Well, Hailey Armstrong, a couple of seasons ago, after completing her final season at Rink Academy in Pomona, landed a Division I scholarship to Bemidji State in Minnesota. Now, last season at Bemidji State, She was one of 8 rookies to play all 36 games for the college last season. Had 9 goals, 1 assist for 10 points, 36 games. In her sophomore season with Bemidji State, looking for bigger and better things. A much younger team, getting a lot more experience this season as well. And one of her former teammates from the academy is going to be minding the cleats for Bemidji State this year. You'll hear a lot more about that in our 19-minute chat with Hailey Armstrong, which will be very enjoyable, of course. Armstrong, huge goal scorer for the Northern Capitals in her pair of seasons, and donning the jersey there here at Prince George. And when I talked to her, very thankful of her time at Prince George Capitals.
Yeah, she was a very exciting talent to watch here. She was a very exciting talent here to watch for the Northern Capitals, and was very much a leader on this team. And I mean, even when she got to rink, I mean, she put really good numbers at rink, surrounded by a lot of really good talent there at that academy. I think it's safe to say that she's one of those players that every level she gets to, she finds a way to adapt and she thrives. And just a incredibly talented player coming from a very nice community here.
And of course, playing in the state of hockey, only going to help her exposure. And having a PWHL team in her own state that she's playing in, really gives her that much more life.
Absolutely. It was working out really good for her, being right close to the PWHL team, and I'm sure that she's got a chance to go see a couple of their games as well, which is over there. Let's transition here now to what we're looking forward to here this season. There's a lot of hockey going on. We're very excited. You know, obviously, Liddell, Williams Lake, we talked about it. It's their inaugural KIJHL teams seasons. So now, what do you look forward to here this season?
Well, there should be a lot of excitement. I mean, there's a lot of anticipation. These heritage communities have been looking forward to having more higher caliber junior hockey since the BCHL left town. Of course, as you know, the Elgin Millionaires, Williams Lake had the Timberwolves. It's been basically all senior hockey in these communities for the last 15, 20 years. So we're getting junior hockey back in kind of that Caribou Valley. We've got River Rush, we've got the Mustangs, and we've got 100-mile house Wranglers now. We've got 3 teams in that Caribou region. It's going to make for some very exciting hockey just down the highway.
Absolutely. I mean, notably, you've got Liam Richardson, who's off Liddell. He spent some time here with the Caribou Cougars program. He gets to play junior in his hometown. As we talked about before, Garrett Feeney, the U18 Caribou Cougars last year, suiting up for his first junior season with the Williams Lake team there. And then as well as Lyndon Hart from Burns Lake, spent time with the U15 AAA Caribou Cougars, now gets to suit up with the Mel River Rush as well. So some really good run of talent, getting a chance to play close to home.
Yes, and that's going to be a huge plus for the fans. Fan support is going to be excellent. Those 2 rinks. Been to the West Fraser Event Center, repping the lacrosse game. Very nice building, junior A caliber for sure, and that place should be rocking.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to this year is seeing this next season here, the Prince George Cougars rather. Obviously, they got some big names departing from the team, but you know, you're going to see Tara Parasak taking a lot more of a leadership role this year. Riley Heights coming back as a 19-year-old, ready to really chew it up and try and show Minnesota what he can do for next year, maybe to make the team for them as well. But I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for younger players, another year for the line to maybe take a step forward. There's going to be a lot of transition within that roster, but I think that they're going to have the depth there to have a really big run again this year. And it's definitely very exciting to be part of.
And I think one thing that this regime can hang their hat on, 17 players attending NHL training camps. So 17 guys over the last 2 seasons attending these pro camps, getting exposure, getting knowledge. You know, it's something that we didn't see not that long ago. The core's been there. The core is pretty much at its apex now. Very exciting time for the Prince George Cougars and management getting it players.
I think that's incredibly right. And I mean, you look at all those names that have moved on to our camps. Some of them won't maybe come back, some of them won't. But if you're trying to recruit some younger talent, really good players to come play for your organization, being able to see that with this coaching staff Mark Lamb and Jim Playfair. That's a really nice incentive for a lot of young talent. Families looking to send their kids off to develop to get to that next level. Prince George Cougars are now becoming a hotspot for player development.
And it helps that Playfair knows the pro game, knows all the agents, knows the ins and outs, knows what it takes to get there. Jim Playfair, of course, another northern guy. So his addition has increased the value of this organization tenfold in just the past 18 to 24 months.
And it's very well said. He's brought so much to the table that you mentioned. I mean, if you're a player looking to learn what it takes to be a pro player, have a long pro career, Jim Playfair is one of those guys that you want to be learning from.
No doubt about it.
All right, we're going to transition out into Brendan's interview with Hailey Armstrong.
Welcome back to the Hockey North podcast, and my guest this week is Northern Capitals alum and sophomore forward at Bemidji State, Hailey Armstrong. Hailey, welcome back.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, Hailey, you're in year 2 in the NCAA with the Bemidji State Beavers. Your season taking place here near the end of the month, I guess. How much more comfortable are you heading into year 2 of your NCAA tenure at Bemidji State?
Definitely a lot more comfortable this year. Nothing's as new. Like I know the school, I know the campus, I know the programs at the rink and the coaches, and most of my teammates are familiar. So I definitely felt a lot better going into this year. Just having that 1 year under my belt.
Now, you had quite an impact as a rookie last year, playing in all 36 games. You're third on the team with 10 points and had a team leading 9 goals for Bemidji last year. What allowed you to have so much opportunity and so much success in your freshman season?
Well, I think just definitely where I came from, I had lots of great competition playing in Prince George. And then when I went to Rank Hockey Academy, I think I was really prepared for the jump to college. But I think as a freshman, I got to come in and I was given an opportunity quite early on. And I think that I kind of went with that. And I had very successful line mates. They definitely helped me a lot. But I think being a freshman too, I'd never really played in the league. No one kind of knew anything about me. So I think that was kind of a little bit to my advantage at the start of the year.
Do you feel that maybe you had a bit of a younger team and therefore maybe there was more of an opportunity for you to contribute right away?
Yeah, for sure. We had a bigger class of 8 for our freshman class last year. So I think coming in, we all had bigger roles to play. And I think almost every single one of us dressed every game last year. So we kind of were already had our foot in the door that way.
What's maybe the anticipation or expectation surrounding the team this year, knowing that that freshman class that you described got so many games in and so much experience a year ago? What's maybe the sense around the team in the locker room heading into the season?
Lots of excitement. We have a newer coaching staff this year as our head coach retired last year. So we have Amber as our head coach, and we have an assistant that is returning from Duluth. So there's excitement with the coaching, and then definitely our freshman class. We have 36 games under our belt, and lots of us got quite a bit of playing time last year. So all that experience that we get to bring and come into this season with is nice. But we also have about 10 new players between freshmen and transfers this season. So we've got a big group of underclassmen, but I think that's kind of good because it allows us to kind of create a new look and identity for the program and kind of bring it in the direction we want to go.
We've all heard of the whole transfer portal craziness
Hmm.
in the NCAA, more specifically with the more well-known sports like football and basketball. You've heard it in men's hockey a little bit more, but what's the transfer portal situation been like from a women's hockey standpoint? Obviously, you were recruited and you're staying where you are at Bemidji State, but what's that whole process been like? Do you know a lot of players that have been through it, or players you've played with or against that have, expressed interest to come to Bemidji State? What's that whole process like that maybe you've heard or been aware of?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with it, but definitely like we have two transfers this year. Once, or actually we have three. We have two fifth years and redshirt freshmen. So it's kind of nice. Like we get to talk to them and to kind of see like what their background was, why they maybe wanted to come to Bemidji, and maybe what wasn't going so well at their past teams, and that they get a new opportunity to start fresh. So I think that's kind of cool. But other than that, it's kind of a little bit different, and sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's rewarding. Just depends on the situation.
Mhm. Let's go back to your rookie season. We mentioned that you played in all 36 games. You led your team in goal scoring. What were maybe some of the more memorable moments that stood out to you in your first year in the NCAA?
Definitely when I scored my first goal. I was kind of that's kind of the big thing, like on your shoulders when you come in as a freshman, and you kind of have a couple weeks of preseason to get your feet under yourself, like in practice and stuff like that. And we always do a scrimmage before we play our first games. But heading into Lindenwood on the road, we were all eight of us freshmen and hadn't scored a goal yet, and I was fortunate enough to get my first goal in the second game. So I think right away that kind of weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I was like, oh, okay, it's over with. I got my first goal. Like, let's go from here.
Do you remember how it happened?
Yeah, I got a kind of a stretch pass at the breakaway, or like for a breakaway almost on the side, and I shot right in between the glove and pad and scored. It was pretty awesome.
What's the whole game day experience like at Bemidji when it comes to your home games? What's the atmosphere like, and do you kind of feed off that extra collegiate energy from the students and the fans?
Yeah, for sure you do. Like everyone has their own like game day rituals, especially at home. And it's pretty different. Like we get a pregame skate in and then everyone's at the rink 2 hours before. And it's just like such a unique experience because everyone's at the rink. We're warming up. All have our little rituals, you could say. And then when you're warming up in your own home rink and the music's playing, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. You're in the state of hockey in Minnesota. No shortage of rinks, opportunities, players, you name it. Believe you're the only Canadian on the roster currently at Bemidji State. What's it like to be around players that kind of grew up in the game in that home state, and what's it like to maybe feed off of them or kind of, take some knowledge from their experiences growing up where hockey is as passionate as that state as it is almost in all of Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome that I get to play in Minnesota. My team, most of my team is actually from around here, so it's pretty neat. But they all play high school hockey here in Minnesota, so that's their thing. So I quiz them out all the time, and I like to get to kind of know like what their seasons were like and how they played, and maybe what was different. Like they have this big thing I hear about all the time, the state tournament, and it's something big for their high school that's kind of say like our AAA provincials and whatnot. So I think it's pretty neat that I get to be here and kind of see like maybe how they started and how we all ended up here at the same place.
What was the adjustment like, balancing school and athletics in your freshman season? Sometimes it's a seamless adjustment, other times, it takes a semester to kind of get your bearings around you. What was that like for you?
I would say my transition was pretty seamless as growing up in midget. My schedules were pretty similar to they are now. Lots of time spent around hockey, training and lifting and skating every day while balancing schooling. But obviously, college is different than high school. So it was definitely an adjustment, just kind of figuring out your classes and kind of figuring out how everything works. But I say by the first month, everyone had it pretty well under their belt.
Yeah. I would be remiss not to ask you, as a women's hockey player, now seeing the PWHL launch, have a successful season. Minnesota went very far in their first season, I believe, winning it all. What's it like seeing that enhanced coverage of women's hockey at the professional level now, especially with a team pretty much in your own backyard, the state that you're playing in? What's kind of the buzz around women's hockey at the professional level in Minnesota?
Oh yeah, it's so awesome and it's growing. The opportunities are getting more and more every year, which is pretty exciting. So, especially being in Minnesota, we got to go watch a game last year when we were going down for some games. So that was pretty cool to kind of see in person what it's like and how many fans that they can get in an NHL rink, which was pretty neat. But coming from the WCHA too, lots of girls that have played in this league recently, as in a year or two ago, kind of got to go play on those teams and get drafted. So it's kind of cool to see that that could be the next step for anyone on our team or from our league.
Is that kind of the goal for you now as you go through your 4-year process in the NCAA? Is that kind of like the next goal for you?
Yeah, I would say the next goal for me to is to play professionally, whether that be the PWHL or going maybe for an overseas experience. I'd love to keep playing the game.
What first attracted you to the game back home growing up in the Dawson Creek area? What made you want to play hockey and get a kind of be attracted to the game at such a young age?
Definitely growing up in Dawson Creek, it's more susceptible that you play hockey because in the winter times that's kind of one of the only things to do. So there was that, but my cousins all played hockey and I kind of looked up to them a lot back in that age. So I was like, oh, they're doing it, so am I. So that's kind of how it got started is my cousin Jace, who played in with me in Prince George, started to play hockey and I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. So that's kind of all where it started.
And of course, you played for the Northern Capitals for 2 seasons. You had a really good team, a really good line that you were a part of during your last season with the Capitals. Just maybe touch on just the experience that you had there, and just kind of at what point that you thought you had a chance of landing a scholarship or at least getting more attention from collegiate scouts.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm forever grateful for my time I spent in Prince George, from all the billets and all the friends that I made there. It was a great experience. And I think kind of like my grade 10 year, it was COVID, but that's kind of like the June 15th of that year was kind of when you could be talked to by schools. And RJ Barra from our hockey school was kind of like the first one who was like pushing us to send emails, like start reaching out, start thinking kind of where we might be interested in or what programs and whatnot. So I think it all kind of started there and just kind of built on from that. And then I made Team BC the following year, which so then that's kind of when I was like, okay, I could have a real opportunity to get a scholarship and go to school somewhere.
Yeah, because just looking at the roster from just the teams that the teammates that you had
Mhm.
from that season, your last year with the Caps, how many players have gone on to post-secondary? Brooke Hutchings went to Trinity Western, Maria Eyre went to post-secondary, Keegan Goulet post-secondary, Ella Boone's at UBC, Cameron Ward's at Red Deer College. Jessa Brewer, I think, had a chance here for NCAA. She's at SAIT.
Yep.
There was a lot of players from that roster, that either got a taste of post-secondary or in post-secondary now. Rachel Lowe and Abby Bryant. Um, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of Stacia Hebert at some point's going to commit somewhere if she hasn't already. Like that. That was a pretty talented roster.
Yeah, we definitely, I think the Sierra Eagles too, she went to New Brunswick. We had a very strong group of 04 and 05s that year. And I think we kind of had been building since COVID and we kind of got back to normal seasons. And that year we were definitely pretty strong. And I think we went to game three, two or three, uh, to almost in our league that year, which was pretty awesome. But we had a great group of girls on and off the ice, so it was nice.
Now, I asked a lot of the players this during the interview. Is there any like certain superstitions or things that you kind of have to do either the day of the game or when you arrive at the rink? Otherwise, you might not feel the games might not go as good for you. Do you have any superstitions?
There's definitely like a lot just here and there. Like my sticks go in the same place by the same people every before every game. And we in the warm-ups, last year I had a specific player. We'd make a pass to each other at the end of warm-ups, and we'd have to have a good shot, or else we couldn't get off the ice. So just little things like that for sure. Our team is very superstitious.
Who's your biggest rival in the conference?
Well, I would say all of the other teams are pretty big rivals. Definitely like St. Thomas, Mankato, and Duluth are kind of people who we're looking for this year to get some wins off of. So
Mhm. And of course, you have a teammate that's a freshman this year that you played with at Rank Hockey Academy in Kelowna. Eva Filipova is on the roster this year. What can you tell me about Eva, and just how thankful are you to have someone else that you know now coming on board your program?
yeah, definitely like coming in last year when I committed, I definitely talked to Yeva quite a bit because she had toured the school and she had been committed for a couple months before me. So I kind of used her, kind of talked to her about what she thought, like how did she think the girls were, the coaches. And then coming in last year as a freshman year, it was nice to have a familiar face and someone that I already knew, um, which made the transition a little bit easier in the end.
What goals have you set out for yourself this year, just in terms of what you want to accomplish this year? Obviously, it's team first, but knowing what your stats were last year, what you accomplished, the opportunities you had as a freshman, what certain benchmarks do you want to match or eclipse this season for you?
Yeah, for me, one of my, I think I had about three things for this year, but just I wanted to get better every day and starting in practice. But obviously last year I got to be a pretty big contributor in our offense, and I think the expectation is the same this year. And I'd love to push myself even farther, and seeing what opportunities I get and making the most of them.
Is there maybe like a strength difference going from, say, you're going against a senior player, battling for the puck in the corner or certain situations on the ice? We hear that adjustment a lot in the men's game. Is it the same in the women's game where, sometimes you're going against 5 players that are that much older than you? Is the strength um, differential there as much in the women's game when going against players that are older than you?
Yeah, I would say it's there for sure. Obviously, maybe when you're a freshman and when you're just coming in, you definitely notice a little more because it's a lot different from high school. But I think after by the end of my freshman year, I kind of was adjusted to that. And the way you train off the ice is kind of built for setting you up for success on the ice. But definitely when we play teams again, like Ohio and Wisconsin, they had quite old rosters, like fifth years, some 6 years. And I think you could definitely notice it there for sure. They have a little bit more of an edge and maybe a little bit bigger than you sometimes.
Yeah. What are you taking academically at Bemidji, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm going for my degree in psychology.
hmm And what's that been like? What are your goals for maybe something like that in that field? If your number one goal of hockey professionally might not work out for you.
Yeah, for sure. My goal is when I come back to Canada, whenever that be, to take the occupational therapy, my master's in occupational therapy. So that's kind of the end goal for me is once I get back to Canada, start doing that, possibly get into coaching someday.
Mhm. And how crucial is that backup plan of, with your education now? Obviously, there's athletes have a lot of pride and we all want to keep playing forever, but when that, day comes where, kind of real life sets in, how much does having that degree and those kind of credentials help you in terms of maybe going into that transition of what's considered the real world?
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be very beneficial coming out of these 4 years with a degree that I can use somewhere. I'm pretty happy that I've got to been this fortunate to go play and get the experience in the States while also getting something that will further my career.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us again on the Hockey North podcast. Best of luck to you this season at Bemidji, and maybe we will cross paths again here later on in the season.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, so that was our interview with Hailey Armstrong. Brendan, what were some takeaways you had from the interview?
Just how driven Hailey is in her second season, knowing to expect a very young up-and-coming club from Bemidji State, getting exposure against a lot of very good schools in that Midwest area, particularly in Minnesota. And when you have 8-9 freshmen that are going together and you get that experience right away like she has, that's only going to accelerate your development even further. So Bemidji State Eagles likely get a good team to reckon with over the coming years, as long as they can keep that core together. Hailey, of course, wanting a pro opportunity once her 4 years down south is done. And she's been a successful player at every level she's been, especially during the time with Northern Capitals, and I wouldn't expect anything less in the next 3 seasons to that Bemidji State.
Very well said. With that, we conclude episode 3 of the Hockey North podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for all the content coming up on our Instagram, and we look forward to seeing you here next week.